As the former governor of California and a mainstay in the world of Hollywood, it should come as no surprise that our beloved Arnie has put down roots in Los Angeles. But not just any suburban LA area, the ultra-expensive, private, and famous Pacific Palisades. That's where you'll find Malibu and Brentwood, which each play host to mesmerizing pieces of real estate. Arnie's houses, named mansions, are no different. Let's take a look, shall we? Allow us to introduce you to this gorgeous compound at 14209 Evans Road. This property isn't just a home, it's like its own suburb. It features 3 separate houses spread across over 2.5 acres in an exclusive gated neighborhood boasting direct access to Will Rogers State Park. The main house sports 7 bedrooms and 7 bathrooms. That Grand Master Suite, though, oh boy, that's something else. The pad comes jam-packed with all of the amenities you could ask for. Tennis court, check. Pool, check. Spa, check. How about an equestrian field, a duck pond, and its very own natural year-round flowing stream? Yep, checkity check check. Seriously, those views of the canyons and the Pacific Ocean beyond are stunning. Schwarzenegger and his ex-wife Maria Shriver lived in the home from 1986 to 2003. While it's not clear exactly how much the Terminator paid for his private retreat, it was put up for sale in 2003, raking in a cool $12.9 million. Back in 2002, Arnie forked out for another nearby house. This completely remodeled 12,000 square foot mansion, for which he reportedly paid $11.9 million. Despite his love for the USA, for years it was heavily rumored that the former Mr. Olympia was building a home above Okanagan Lake in Canada as well. If you've ever had the pleasure of watching an Arnie film, you'll have surely noticed the accent. The Hollywood star evidently has foreign roots. He grew up in Austria, even serving with the National Army back in 1965. But we'll circle back to that shortly. See this humble home? It doesn't exactly scream multi-million-dollar mansion, does it? But Arnie did in fact live within its walls. Located near the village of Thal, near the Austrian city of Graz, the first floor of this lemon-colored building served as Arnie's childhood home. The flat had no electricity and no running water, a stark contrast from the luxury of the Pacific Palisades. While the Total Recall star no longer lives there, it currently serves as the Arnold Schwarzenegger Museum, showcasing exhibits of his childhood, film career, and political career. Now, about that time, he served in the Austrian army. Growing up during the Allied occupation, Arnie was no stranger to heavy military vehicles. During his service, he even operated an Army-grade M47 Patton tank. Believe it or not, when he made the move to the US of A, the bodybuilding icon paid a whopping $20,000 in order to transport the tank onto American soil. Why? To crush cars, for entertainment and charity purposes. Eventually, he sold the beast for $46,000 at auction. And while it might have been his most indestructible vehicle, it's certainly not his only one. Arnold's inaugural set of wheels was this Opel Kadett, which came with a retail price of just $1,862 back in 1969. It's hard to imagine that the 6'2" man mountain could actually fit into one of these bad boys, though. As the years passed and his bank balance grew, so did his garage. Let's start with the classics. The paparazzi have snapped him cruising around in a Cadillac Eldorado Biarritz, a vintage Excalibur, which comes with a price of around $89,000, and a Dodge Challenger SR T8 worth upwards of $29,000. True to his own stature, the 7-time Mr. Olympia bodybuilder also owns a few beefy heavy hitters. There's the roughly $250,000 custom Kreisel Electric G500, his cherished Hummer H1 Slantback, and the more modern Hummer H2. Possibly the only street-legal vehicle more rugged than a Hummer is the $250,000 Mercedes-Benz Unimog. And yep, you guessed it, Arnie holds the keys to one of these as well. For when he's felt a little more sleek and stylish, the Austrian has been seen behind the wheel of a $100,000 Tesla Roadster, a $140,000 Porsche 997 Turbo Cabriolet, a $250K Bentley Arnage, a Mercedes-Benz SLS AMG Roadster worth over $200K, a $280,000 Bentley Continental GT Super Sports Convertible, and a custom Audi R8. Impressed yet? We are. But wait, there's more. Back in 2014, Schwarzenegger made headlines for buying a rare Bugatti Veyron Grand Sport Vitesse. Unfortunately, he decided to let it go, offloading the supercar for a crazy $2.5 million in 2018. Still, despite a car collection as impressive as that of any movie star to walk the earth, there's perhaps no image more iconic than the Terminator shredding through the streets of LA on this Harley-Davidson Fat Boy. But before Arnie was the Terminator and the Governator and a world-famous Hollywood enigma, he was a foreigner. Sure, he rocked the title as the youngest Mr. Universe in history, but that didn't mean that his wallet was overstuffed just yet. By most accounts, when Arnold first arrived on American soil, he had just $27,000 left of his bodybuilding winnings to his name. So how does a young expat with enormous biceps propel himself from 27 grand to nearly $500 million in the span of just a few decades? Let's rewind for a minute and check out how the 73-year-old blossomed into inexplicable wealth. With quads the size of tree trunks, Arnold clearly knew how to lift. So he started up a bricklaying business with his bodybuilding partner Franco Columbu, making a tidy profit along the way. That cash was reinvested into another business which sold what Arnold knew best: bodybuilding equipment. As the savings account slowly grew, Arnie took his next step. He saved every penny from competitions, seminars, and workshops in order to have enough cash for his first real estate investment, a sixplex in Santa Monica. From there, it was up, and away. That first real estate investment was a modest apartment building that cost a smidge over $214K. He flipped it, and 3 years later, he sold the sixplex for $360,000, a nice $146,000 profit, all while collecting rent simultaneously. That $146,000 went into another property, this time a 12-unit apartment building, which he again sold for profit, and then bought another one. As you can see, rather than splurging the money on cars, booze, fancy clothes, and LA parties, don't worry, those came later, he put his money to good work. Although he did throw a few bucks toward a costume that he used to disguise himself as a Gold's Gym employee.
A physical fitness instructor who has become a regional manager for Gold's Gym.
Anyway, the real estate was bringing in the dosh, clearly. Yet only once he broke into the world of Tinseltown did his bank balance really begin to boom. For 1984's Terminator, Arnold's paycheck read $75,000. From there, the numbers only grew. Commando earned him $2 million. Predator brought in $3.5 million. Then another $11 million for Total Recall, and $12 million each for both Kindergarten Cop and Terminator 2. By far, his biggest payday, however, was Terminator 3. Schwarzenegger received $29,250,000 salary plus a 20% royalty on the worldwide box office. All up, his $400 million net worth places him miles ahead of Brad Pitt, Will Smith, and Tom Hanks, just to name a few. As that worth has multiplied, so has his willingness to spend big. In June of 1997, our favorite action movie star offloaded a tear-jerking $38 million on his very own private Gulfstream 3 jet. Fast forward to his time as the 38th governor of California from 2003 to 2011, where travel was a regular occurrence, and he'd opt again for a Gulfstream as his ideal method of transport. While it was quick and private, admittedly it was expensive, and the former running man copped a lot of flack for the excessive and expensive fuel consumption. In response to these criticisms, Arnie decided to make amends by purchasing pollution credits for the carbon dioxide that the jet released. If he's not soaring through the skies, the muscle man is more than happy to kick back on the water. In 2017, when Arnie was passing through Australia with his son Patrick, he had no problem throwing away tens of thousands of dollars on this awesome yacht. The pair cruised around the idyllic Sydney Harbor on board a boat called the Seven Star, which reportedly cost a whopping $2,500 an hour to rent out. That's $420,000 per week. But hey, when you're a money-loaded movie star, it barely makes a dent. You'd be forgiven for assuming that a hefty chunk of that $400 million came from Arnie's wage as the California governor, but in reality, that's far from the truth. His salary as governor would have been a mere $175,000 had he not decided to forego it. In fact, his 2 terms in office had actually cost him substantially. As the Austrian reported to the media, he missed out on an estimated $200 million in acting payments due to his political commitments. Had he continued exclusively down the cinema path, who knows? We could have been referring to his being the world's first billionaire actor. Besides his $300 million real estate empire, which has grown tenfold over the years, the actor is involved in a long list of other businesses. He did, after all, attend a business school in Munich in his heyday. Schwarzenegger is a partial owner of Planet Hollywood, the themed restaurant chain. On top of that, way back in 1992, for 6 years, he and Maria even owned and operated their very own independent restaurant. It was based in Santa Monica and called Schatzi on Main. As a keen businessman, the former bodybuilder is heavily invested in the stock market, with over $100,000 worth of equity in Starbucks, Walmart, Pfizer, General Electric Company, and, ironically, both Coca-Cola and Pepsi. However, arguably his most prominent current business venture is his production house, Oak Productions. The company notably produced Last Action Hero in 1993 as well as Aftermath in 2017. On most days, Arnie's dressed in gym clothes pumping the iron. But when he does rock a suave suit, he's got plenty of wrist pieces to choose from as accessories. Some elegant, some heavy-duty. On any given afternoon, Arnie can don a $15,000 Rolex GMT Master, a $20,000 plus Audemars Piguet Royal Oak Offshore, a $6,000 Panerai Luminor, or the rare U-Boat U1942. The limited edition 1942 model, which Arnie often wears, is difficult for the average person to obtain. However, similar models are sold for upwards of $40,000. If he still can't decide, he could always wear any of his very own 18-piece range, which was designed in collaboration with the Brazilian Magnum Group.